At Ozinga, we see the call for safety being everywhere, beyond construction sites and well after we've punched out. So these are discussions with industry experts and our own coworkers who are improving safety, leading with intentional action, and eliminating incidents and injuries, also known as Chasing Zero. Today's guest is Teri McKean, licensed clinical social worker and director of crisis and support operations for Chicago's division of NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness. With September being Suicide Prevention Month, we asked Teri to join us for a wide-ranging discussion on mental health, as well as how and why the construction industry's willingness to address this topic has increased over the years. Here's Ozinga Health and Safety Vice President, Adam Pummer.
Welcome everybody. Today's topic it's a big one for me, and it's a big one in the industry and the community and in this world right now on mental health. Let's start with introductions. Teri, you want to go first?
Sure. I'm Teri McKean. I am the Director of Crisis and Support Operations at NAMI Chicago. NAMI, it stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We are part of the larger NAMI organization, the national organization. We are an affiliate within the state of Illinois. Affiliates run throughout the whole country. They're very similar, think about like a franchise, for instance. Sure. So we have our own office, our own budget, our own space that we're working through, and our own objectives and goals. NAMI National and our local NAMI really focuses, though, on the lived experience that someone has and what they bring to the table. So we really lean in hard on that to understand their own experience, what works for them, what is going to be helpful for them, how we can advocate within systems, how we can reduce stigma, all of those things related to mental health.
Stigma is a big thing I want to talk about today, especially on the construction side of it.
Hi, everybody. Steve Lindley. I'm the Safety Training Manager here at Ozinga. Mental health in construction is something that's really near and dear to me. I enjoy advocating for it and letting people know that it's okay to stand up for yourself and say you need help. It's all right to get rid of that stigma.
So let's kind of start with like a definition of mental health, and I'm sure you both got a little bit different ones, but how would you define our mental health?
Well, that's a very big question, actually. I think for a lot of people, I think of mental health as more specifically as mental illnesses, right? Like depression or anxiety, schizophrenia, any of those kinds of things. I really envision mental health, and I think NAMI looks at it as globally. How are you functioning day to day? How are you thinking about yourself? How are you thinking about your relationships? How are you engaging with your community, your work, anything along those lines? And is it well? Meaning, do you feel like you have a sense of agency? Do you have some sense of control and a way to influence that space and feel good about yourself so that you don't feel like everything is crashing in on you all the time?
How does it affect people? I know we talk about the big ones like suicide and the depression, but it can affect all kinds of parts of the body, right?
Absolutely. Your mental health really is symbiotic, I think, with your physical health, right? One doesn't exist without the other. So if you're mentally not feeling well, you're not able to think clearly or have concentration, you have a lot of stress and pressures going on, that's definitely going to have an impact on your physical health. A lot of people complain about headaches, about gastro problems, back pain, you name it, lots of different things. We see a lot of exhaustion, right? That's a huge one that comes out. Where you have mental exhaustion, then you have physical exhaustion. They play hand in hand. And if you have physical challenges as well, that really can impact your mental health, right? I'm not physically performing the way I would like to. And whether that's at work or at home, or you're just exercising, whatever that might look like. You have an injury. A lot of people with injuries, unfortunately, and chronic illness really struggle with their mental health because they feel their sense of purpose is impacted.
That's an interesting one because we see, obviously in construction, we see injuries. Go a little bit more into that. I'm curious.
Human beings have two really big things we think about. What's our sense of purpose? What the heck are we doing here? Both in life, but in my family, in my community, in my work, right? What are we doing? What's my purpose in being here? We get a lot out of whatever that is. And then we have this other space of we're relational. We are creatures that need each other. We're social creatures. And so if either one of those particularly are impacted, our mental health will decrease, right? We see this epidemic of loneliness right now. We're as connected as we've ever been, right? Here's a podcast.
Right.
We're connecting to everybody who is listening. But we're not having a reciprocal connection. You're hearing something, you're like, oh, I can relate to that. That resonates with me. Wonderful. But if you don't have anyone to actually have a connection with about it, okay, it's just a bit of information. So we have those two pieces
like COVID,
playing.
huh?
Yeah.
COVID really impacted that.
I'd like to go back a little bit to NAMI. and you're the director of crisis and support operations there. So tell me a little bit about the organization and maybe a little bit about your day-to-day.
Yeah, absolutely. So NAMI Chicago specifically we're the biggest affiliate in the state of Illinois. A lot of the affiliates will have a handful of people and some volunteers who are kind of answering questions, being supportive, and really operating our peer support groups. That's a real foundational piece of NAMI is those peer support groups.
Okay.
People who've been there, done that, and they facilitate that shared support. NAMI Chicago has grown because we've been a voice since 1978 in the Chicagoland area. We were developed by a couple of families who had adult children with severe mental illness and who were like, who do we turn to? Who do we talk to? Who gets it? And they came together and they realized, oh, you get it. Your kid's been hospitalized. You get it. They've been dealing with whatever it is. And they worked really hard to develop a lot of advocacy work and support, shared support over the years. Our voice has grown dramatically in the policy and advocacy area, and because of that, then other people are coming to us saying, let's partner, let's do some things. So we've grown exponentially in the last couple of years to include not only peer support groups, but we also have our helpline. Trained professionals are answering the phone about anything you call. I just need someone to talk to. I ran into this problem. Let's problem solve through it. Let's talk it out. I don't know where to turn. What are some resources for me?
And that's
Anything along those
anonymous?
lines. You can be anonymous. We'd love to be able to talk to you because we'll send you stuff. So we kind of need an email or a phone number or something like that. But you can be anonymous, absolutely. We get a lot of calls, I would say 60-40 right now, of people calling for themselves, and the other 40% are family members or loved ones calling for someone else. Like my partner is really struggling right now. My kid is really having a hard time. A lot of parents of adult children calling us to say, we've been in the system for a while now. It's not working. What do we do?
What system?
Mental health system. So that in and out of hospitals, if you've got dealing with some severe stuff, trying to figure out the right level of treatment, if you maybe need outpatient, but there's lots of different choices, right? How do I decide where I need to go and what would be best for me? They try, I would say most treatment providers try to give some good education on what each level of care means or what you can get out of it. But it's still a lot of choices. Oh, let's add in then, what's your insurance coverage?
Oh, yeah.
Can you afford it? Is it close to you? Like, there's so many variables. So people will often call us for that extra support to figure out, how do I navigate this space?
So they can talk to somebody who's been down that road with their adult child and how they navigated it and get that advice.
Yeah, sometimes it's peers that answering the phone. Sometimes it's our just trained staff. Either way. But they're all educated on how to help somebody navigate through that. We really obviously encourage people to engage in our peer support groups for that additional layer.
Oh, cool.
It's just nice to have somebody who's like, yeah, I dealt with that.
Yeah,
I remember trying to navigate the system. We went through 3 psychiatrists or 4 therapists before we found the right one.
So what are some big topics that people are calling in to talk about now? Like, what's the most common?
I try to keep up on trends pretty regularly because in addition to the helpline, we also have our 988 call center that we house out of NAMI Chicago as well. We're one of several call centers in the state. And so both of them are phone calls coming in all the time. We cover the whole day between the 2 of those phone lines. And the trends that I just asked staff last week, I was kind of checking in with people. Right now, there's a lot of job loss that's happening. So there's a lot of financial concerns people are calling about. Big stress and pressure for people, especially if you were the breadwinner or you had carried the insurance.
Sure.
So that's a big one. There's a lot of fear of just what's happening socially right now and how that's going to impact us in some way. Within the city specifically, if we have troops coming in, that's worrisome for a lot of people, just the presence purely with whatever they're doing. Immigration is a big one that has come up for a lot of people. There's also just generally a sense of loneliness, or I don't know who to turn. I just don't have that support. I don't know what to do right now, and feeling I just need someone to talk to.
Like people who are alone in life, maybe don't have family, don't have a lot of close friends.
People who have family. People who just don't feel comfortable and safe enough to share. I'm really struggling. I don't feel comfortable being vulnerable with you right now. Or you're the source of my stress, right? There is that as well. there's
Long
a
weekend with the family.
Yeah. I mean, we see spikes definitely around holidays of people calling
I
in.
can imagine.
Well, there's an aspect of, sometimes holidays are tough for people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
I
of
think
course
people
we
don't realize the family connection that can happen too.
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely.
I didn't even think about that aspect. Like, I was just with the family the whole weekend and whatever triggered, and I can't talk to them about it.
Yeah.
Who do I talk to?
Right. And we do. We are a nice, I won't say we're ever going to replace a therapist, but we can provide that in-moment support, that kind of stopgap. If you really just, I need somebody to talk to right now, we are there for them.
So if you call 988 in the Chicagoland area, you end up talking to somebody from NAMI?
That's the goal. 988 is a national line.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
you call in, you get to a main center, and it gets routed out based on where you are calling from.
Okay.
And our team tries to get to all those calls.
Sure.
But if it doesn't, it routes out to a backup center. So
Okay.
all calls are answered by someone for sure. We try to do hyper-local support, though. It makes the most sense to have somebody from Chicagoland answering the calls.
Yeah.
They just
Understand
know.
what your issues might be
Exactly.
or what the connection is.
And what's the best resource for you?
And those are licensed people on the other end of 988, or are they a combination of volunteers?
We don't have any volunteers on our line. There are volunteers for 988, not on our line particularly, but they're all at least bachelor's level. Most of them are actually engaged in their master's level coursework.
Oh, okay.
The
Using this as
supervisors
their
are all licensed.
internship, basically, to do
Sure.
their master's
Yeah, get that
coursework.
get that experience.
Sure.
So would you say NAMI is like a good first step for somebody?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Especially if you have no idea. Like you're just like, something's wrong. Something doesn't feel right with me. Something doesn't feel right with my family member. I would definitely suggest calling us because we'll talk it out. It may not be that you need our resources or our support, but we'll help you figure out what that next step should look like.
Yeah.
Even before crisis level?
Absolutely before crisis
Okay.
level.
Yeah. Get ahead of it instead of
ahead of
waiting
it.
until.
Yeah.
Okay. But
Yeah.
they can call you before crisis level. Like they don't
Yeah.
have to wait till they're like completely falling apart.
No,
to call.
absolutely not.
Okay.
In fact, for the helpline, the majority of calls are not crisis.
Oh, they're not?
They're people who are like, they're seeing the signs. They're recognizing that
well, that's
things are
good.
going on. Yeah, absolutely.
That's refreshing to hear.
Yeah, it is. It's good. We're trying really hard to spread some awareness
Yeah.
as well so people know, hey, this is a preemptive thing. Don't let it get to that point of crisis. We know when you get into crisis, your body and your mind biologically really struggle, right? If you're in a crisis space, that whole space in your brain that makes decisions, that can regulate yourself, that can think through problems, offline. It really goes back to that primal survival space. And you don't do a good job of making decisions
Yeah.
at that point in time. So,
Not conducive to good decision
no.
making.
I think awareness is a huge part of it, and that's one of the reasons we're doing, podcasting and this type of having these types of discussions. I noticed from your website you said 50% of adults get treatment, so only 50% of adults in Illinois get treatment, and then 10% of Illinois adults experience severe psychological distress. So it's still not out there enough, or there's still stigmas.
Oh, absolutely. There's still stigmas. In my own family, right? I am a mental health professional. I talk about this stuff all the time. I know there are plenty of people in my own family who'd be like, nope, still not doing that. Don't trust it.
Yeah.
There's a trust is a big issue, right? Sharing outside of my family, whatever your family cultural values are, they may not feel like that's acceptable or allowed. There's definitely a lot of pressure, especially on men, to not be vulnerable and share information. So that's something that's...
You just hit on two of them that I want Steve to talk about. I mean, talk about the mental health on the construction side. I mean, because it's a little bit different than the general public.
Yeah. The stats really tell the story when you look at construction and mental health, especially when we look at kind of the terminal problem. Someone has decided there's no point anymore and they don't want to be here and they're going to remove themselves from whatever these negative pressures are on themselves. I mean, you look at, Americans in general as a population, 14 people per 100,000 per year commit suicide. We look at construction, it's 4 times the national average.
That's wild.
It's insane. And there's so many schools of thought of what the problem is first. The first thing is we have to realize what the issue is. I mean, there are a couple of pretty strong schools of this is why. The suck it up culture. Hey, we all got problems, dude. You come to work. We'll get the framing done, and we'll go to the tavern afterwards, and we're gonna have like 6 or 8 beers, and you can go home at 7, 8 o'clock at night. Everything will be fine, and we'll just do it all over again tomorrow. I mean, there's a big part of the workforce that lives their life like that.
Just ignoring the issue.
Ignore the problem. If you just put it out of your head, it will eventually subside and go away. And then there are some people like me who were in a situation and said, I'm gonna do something about it. But you have to be willing to be vulnerable. And I think that's maybe the biggest apprehension in the construction industry. In my opinion, that's the biggest hindrance to people in our industry getting help, is that they don't think it's okay to speak up. They think if they say, I'm in trouble, they'll be ridiculed. And in my experience, it's just absolutely the opposite. That's the most astounding thing for me, is having been somebody who was on both sides of that and looking at from both sides saying, why was I so caught up? Why was I so clouded?
Well, there's more reasons that could cause it in construction, right?
We see guys get laid off. Mm-hmm. You're the breadwinner. It's your job, right? You get up every morning, you put on the boots, you go and you climb the iron, and then all of a sudden the work's tight and you're working now 3 days a week, and then you're working 1 day a week. I was a young ready mix driver. I lived my life by the call out, and I kind of know exactly what that feels like. And they try to tell you, hey, it's a seasonal business. You're going to get probably laid off around the first week of December, and you're probably not going to come back until the end of February, beginning of March, until it starts to pick up. And you figure out something to do for the winter. Or guys go to IDOT. We call them snowbirds. They go drive a snowplow for the winter. Or they've got a buddy who does snow plowing or whatever it is. They find something to keep themselves busy, and they're prepared for that. But then during the construction season, all of a sudden you wake up. Ready mix driving for somebody who's never done the job is a very uniquely scheduled environment. You don't know until 7 o'clock tonight what time you're working tomorrow morning. You go after 7 o'clock tonight, you log into a portal or you call into a number. Lots of companies do it different ways. And you look and say, okay, Steve starts, there's no time there tomorrow. All right, we're a little slow. I didn't get a start. And the first time it happens, you go, actually, you know what? This is a good thing. I got a long list of stuff to do around the house. I can catch up on this project, whatever it is. Then Tuesday comes and there's not a start time on the call out. And then it's Wednesday, and then it's Thursday, and then it's Friday. And you're like, okay, I haven't worked in 5 days. And now your significant other's like, hey, is everything cool over there? Like, we were kind of prepared for a couple of days here and there. You haven't worked in 5 days. You haven't worked in 8 days. That's a big thing for us in our industry is no work, no pay.
Well,
Huge.
also injuries, right? It can lead to getting prescribed medicine and then, or leading into the no work, no pay because you can't work because you're hurt.
Right.
We see a lot of that, especially in the construction industry. Guy got hurt and doctor said, here's some Norcos, make you feel better.
Right.
And next thing you know, this guy's in big trouble.
Right.
And life is completely turned upside down over a prescription bottle.
Well, and it's really hard too because if you don't get paid, if you're not getting paid because you're not working, there's an urgency on yourself too to be like, I got to get healed quick. Give me whatever I need to get on there, right? I need that pain relief so I can go back to work tomorrow.
I never thought of it from that aspect that even the person might be advocating for that to get better faster and get back to work.
Right.
Yeah, geez,
and they're not thinking, I'm going to get addicted to it. They're just like, I got to get back to work. I got bills to pay.
Right. And the doctor gave it to me. So it's
got to be okay.
It's got
to be okay.
Oh,
right.
man.
Yeah. Steve, tell me your story. I know you've got some experience with this, and I'd like Teri to hear it and see what maybe we can take from your story and see maybe how we could prevent the next issue from happening.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of the stereotypical construction worker story. You know, I was working for another ready mix producer. I had become the basically safety and operations guy. My life was just nonstop. My day-to-day was very early up. My story is, focused around a specific day, November 15th of 2022. Was a day like any other for me. My alarm went off at that time in my life about 3:30 in the morning. I was up and out of the house by 4 a.m. By 6:30, I had been to my 4 plant locations, collected, anybody who's in our industry knows there's paperwork and there's money. So I had collected all the CODs that were collected the day before, collected all the delivery tickets with the notes, get those back to the office. By 6:30, I'm back in the office. The day goes off like any other day for a ready mix operations guy. Constant fires to put out. You're just running. Unhappy customers, unhappy employees, unhappy dispatcher, whatever it is. And my wife was usually home around 5:30 that time in our careers, and she would feed the kids at 5:30 when she got home. And then when I got home, we'd have a little dinner together. I got home 6:30. We had dinner, and she mentioned that the kids asked while she was feeding them if they'd go get ice cream. So I said, yeah, sure, go ahead. I'm lactose intolerant. Sorry if that's too much information for everybody out there listening today. And I love ice cream. It just doesn't love me. So I don't torture myself typically and partake in the trip to go get ice cream. So I said, yeah, sure, sounds great. I'll hang home. And, we finished up probably around 7, and they threw their shoes on and headed out to my wife's Jeep. And I remember kind of closing the door behind them and locking the deadbolt, and something just said, now's the time. And I started walking for my firearm safe, and I decided I was just going to end it. I was under so much pressure. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know how to breathe or what was coming next. And as I was walking down the stairs to our bedroom where my safe is, something said, hold up, stop. What are you doing? And I remember turning around and sprinting, literally just running to the front door, hoping in my head, like, all right, get your shoes on, hurry up, hopefully they're still here. I remember putting on my hoodie and literally running down the driveway, chasing after my wife's vehicle because I didn't trust myself to be alone anymore. Something was wrong. I didn't know what. I didn't know what had put me there. And I remember shouting, hey, as I'm running down the driveway and seeing the brake lights come on my wife's Jeep and being relieved. and opening up the front passenger door and jumping in, and her being like, "Oh, you're coming with?" And I'm like, "Yeah, what the heck? Why am I going to sit here by myself?" And I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how that had even happened. I didn't know what the next step was, but I knew I wasn't okay. I didn't say anything to my wife that night. I didn't say anything to my wife for over a year. I didn't know how to tell her. But what I did the next morning is I went into I got up at 3:30, Groundhog Day all over again. I didn't change anything the next day. And when I got to the office that day around 6:30, I jumped on the computer and I went to my insurance company at the time's website, and I logged in and I put in my zip code and said I needed somebody for mental health who takes the insurance. And I started calling, and I got to a guy in Orland, Tim, and I explained what was going on. And he said, "Actually, I could see you tonight at 6 if you could be here." And I said, "I'll be there. Here I come." And I'm super proud to tell people that it's okay to say you're not okay. I told this story publicly for the first time in January of this year at the Ozinga Safety Summit. We have a big safety get-together at the Lindley Convention Center every year. We bring management in from around all of our operations. And I had finally decided it was enough sitting on my fat booty, not telling people that it's okay to say you're not okay, and that if you speak up, it's a very different outcome. I think we kind of touched on that at the beginning of early intervention, not waiting till it's at critical mass and your life is crumbling around you.
I think that's the scary but also interesting part of that story is everything else was great in your life.
Right.
You don't know what to say. Like to say, "Oh, last night I came within 30 seconds of taking my own life," is not something that's easy to say to people.
No.
How do you approach that? Because the whole time you're thinking, okay, if people find out this happened to me, I'm defective.
Right.
We've been taught that. Suicide is taboo. Don't say the word. People, if somebody decides to take their own life, let them slip off into the abyss, and we won't talk about what happened, and we won't make it into awareness. And I think for me, that's the biggest injustice in all of it.
Yeah.
Is that these people go away and we don't use that as an example to say, it's never that bad. Please.
Teri, how would you bring it up? I mean, that's a good question.
Yeah.
But if somebody out there is listening and saying, like, that might be me, how would they bring it up?
Yeah. First of all, I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yes.
Thanks.
I mean, that takes a lot of bravery and courage. It does.
And I do a lot of public speaking, and let me tell you, that was the first time in a long time. And I told Adam, and I've told other people, like I'm the kind of the voice of the event. So I sit on the table on the side and announce the speakers coming up. And I remember texting our coworker, Jenna, like right before, I'm crazy nervous.
Yeah.
Like it was an Eminem moment.
It takes a lot of
Palms were
guts.
sweaty. Like I could barely hold the microphone. My hands were so sweaty.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're a presenter.
Yeah.
But I think it was more just bringing it up again to talk about it, and that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah.
That's how I want to rephrase that question for you.
Right, right.
What should people say?
I know. So many things came up as you were telling your story that stood out to me a lot. And one of them was particularly this idea that there's just not a way of comfortably saying that, because in our society, suicide is, at one point, it was viewed as a sin, still is in many cultures and many religions. It is, at one time, it was a crime in most states. That's why we say commit suicide, because you're committing a crime.
I mean, you can't do anything about it at this point.
Yeah, it is not any longer, but it was considered a crime in the past. Even your attempts were considered a crime, and you could get jailed for that.
Yeah, can you imagine
exactly.
getting incarcerated for attempting suicide?
Correct, right. We've been working so long to correct some of those taboos, some of those thoughts about it, that it's not a sin. It is a struggle, absolutely, but it's not a sin. There are very few people who really want to die. There's that little voice.
Yeah.
You heard that little voice of what are you doing? Go find your wife right now, right? There is always a part of us that are I need to do something.
Yeah.
Something's got to change. But there's a real sense of hopelessness, a real sense of, I'm in a situation I can't get out of. I don't know how to escape this. I'm feeling a lot of dread. In your case, I'll use yours example. I have all this pressure to do really good at work. I've got lots of tasks I'm in charge of. I'm responsible.
And you probably loved it.
Well, and that
And
for
you
me,
liked
that
it.
was the thing for me. I'm a high school grad. I don't have a diploma. And I thought that defined who I was. My whole entire life, I thought, if I don't kill myself for my employer, they'll never see the value in me because I didn't go get that piece of paper. And so every time the boss asks you, hey, could you take care of this too?
Yes.
You got it, buddy. I'm your guy. You just keep piling on. And in the construction industry, when we look at the statistics, that's actually one of the things the statistics do pretty definitively show. It's the high performers. It's the foreman. Yeah, it's the foreman. It's the superintendent. It's the project manager. It's the person who they push on all day, who never says, no, I can't do that. It's the person who just kept, give it. What else you got? Give it to me. And then they get to that critical mass. And how do you go back to your boss who you, for the last 2, 5, 6, 7 years, you've been saying, come on, buddy, I got you, pile on me.
Right.
And then go back and say,
too much.
I screwed up.
There's probably even a little bit of you at some point where you're thinking about this prior to this happening of like, nobody's gonna care. I'll be better off. I am probably causing them more burden than I need to right now.
100%.
That's a thought that comes up for a lot of people, right? They don't need me. It's not that important. Even though you're in this huge level of responsibility for everything.
Yeah. 100%.
And so that doesn't really jive at all, but that's how our brains start thinking when we can't tolerate or handle what's going on. We're overwhelming the system.
I mean, that's basically like the ultimate fight or flight, right?
Absolutely.
It's gotten so bad.
Yep.
My only flight is to go away completely.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah, you can't describe it to somebody. I think that's the other thing. Until you've had that happen, we can try to, we talk about empathy and understanding what people are dealing with in their lives and trying to be compassionate. But until your brain has told you it's time to go away, you can't even understand what that's like, I don't think. Like
there's a lot of thoughts of, I wish I didn't have to deal with this anymore. I wish I could go to sleep and not have to get up the next couple of days. Can I just get my car and go and not come back, right? There's a lot of those kinds of thoughts that kind of start that space. So if you're having those kinds of thoughts, it's okay to tell somebody, I've been having some really dark thoughts. That's usually a very common phrase. We're having dark thoughts. Okay. Because people,
they can't really define them.
Can't
just
define
like
them.
Weird.
Something doesn't feel right. Like I just don't feel good.
So that's kind of the initial flag. Like I'm having some dark thoughts. Yep. I'm not sure exactly what it means. I don't know where it's coming from.
I'm not feeling like I'm navigating life like I used to.
Okay.
Right? Like I'm maybe not performing like I'd like to, or I'm not toterating the stressors that are coming in like I used to. I'm feeling way more overwhelmed than I normally do.
Okay.
I'm missing things. Right? You start to, too many balls in the air, you start to drop some.
Yeah.
Right? Those kinds of things happen. You're short with family members, you're withdrawing.
And that was the thing, my wife, after the fact, like, so I didn't tell my wife for over a year. And when I did, she looked back on it and was like, well, that's the only indicator she ever noticed, was that I was more short than I had ever been.
Right.
I didn't seem to be in the mood to it was like everything was super transactional.
Right.
It become like my work. Okay, this is what's in front of me right now.
That's what I was going to say. It sounds like it.
Right.
This is my task.
It's exactly, life becomes part of the task list.
Right. Because you can't tolerate it.
Yeah, right.
There's so much going on. There's no way to, even if you try to compartmentalize, and that's what you were kind of describing before, this idea of just put it all away, do your job, move on. That's actually not a bad coping skill for a lot of people, is to be able to like, okay, I'm going to put this over here for a while and do what I need to do and come back and deal with it. The problem is you don't come back and deal with it. So you just keep putting it over there.
Just fills
and
up.
You keep putting it over there. Yeah. Exactly. And eventually you can't contain it any longer. It's exhausting to hold.
The things that you normally do that are because you're passionate and it's because you feel a purpose from them and fulfilled, none of that matters anymore.
Right. And you've also lost your connection with all the humans around you.
Yeah.
They become transactional. That's a perfect word for it. They become very transactional. There's not any kind of connection there.
Yeah.
whatsoever.
The difference between, like, at that point in my life, the emotional difference between my wife and one of my employees were probably very similar as far as how we interacted.
Right.
That's what she was trying to tell me. We had gone from having this really wonderful, loving, joking relationship. We weren't fighting. There was no like, why is he so upset all the time? It would just become transaction.
So you bring up something interesting. When you ask, like, how can we tell somebody? How can we share that we're feeling this way? You can. It's really hard. And sometimes you don't have the words for it, right? I think what's more important to the people around you to recognize the invitations you're sending out. We call them invitations. They're like these little, here, look at this. This is what I'm doing different. Or here's something that's not quite the same as it used to be. Or here, just whatever it might be.
Kind of a red flag.
Red flag, yeah. Okay. I like the word invitations because it doesn't feel like it's right?
Yeah, because red flag almost discourages people speaking up.
Exactly,
yeah,
right.
Like,
It's we're in crisis
I want to throw up a red flag.
Right, I don't want to be in a crisis mode,
I'll take
right?
an invitation.
Right, exactly. I'll
Who
take an
doesn't love an
invitation.
invitation?
Yeah, right. So an invitation is, I'm short with you.
Yeah.
Right, that's different than normal. Or I'm not, your wife probably could recognize there was not the emotional connection that there was, right?
100%.
Or your kids are like, well, Dad's working again. That's all. That's all we ever see him
He seems
doing.
angry.
He seems angry. Yeah. Those kinds of things. It may be They're doing things like all of a sudden we're not going out after work every night like we used to do, right? Or I come to work, I don't really talk to anybody, do my job, leave.
Yeah.
Right? That person who used to be pretty social. So any of those kind of invitations where somebody's different than they used to be. And there's a difference between being, hey, are you okay? Or how are you doing today? Those are very transactional conversations.
Because they're just going to say, I'm good.
I'm fine.
Yeah, right.
Yep,
I'm fine.
absolutely. Great.
So
Things are
easy
good.
to just say that and move on.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah. That was a bad day.
Yeah. Yeah, you could even say it was a bad day and then just that's it, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing else there. When you tell someone, I notice this, I care about you, I'm paying attention to you, you're worth something, you're valuable to me, you have a sense of purpose of like in this relationship and our work that we're doing together or in our family. And then tell me what's going on. There's no question there.
Yeah.
That is a statement. Tell me what I need to know.
You know, it's a good thing to bring up right now, because I've always been in the mindset of like, let's try to teach people how to self-police. Let's look for the symptoms and then go get help. Like in your scenario, like what were some symptoms I could have found and then go get help. But it sounds like you're talking more about relationship with friends, family that can see this stuff and go to NAMI for extra help.
Absolutely.
On behalf of you.
Absolutely. We get family members call all the time who like, I see something's off with that person. I know it's not
Oh, really?
okay. I've tried to have the conversation with them and they're not into it. Because you definitely get those people who are like, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm fine.
Yeah.
So then will
Leave
you
me
guys
alone.
help try to give them tools to have that conversation and maybe be more successful? So
Yep.
even somebody who's not experiencing the problem, but is concerned about somebody else can
Right.
call in. Oh, that's really helpful
absolutely.
to know.
So that we will coach them through how to have that conversation.
Oh,
we'll make
cool.
sure they're getting the support they need. It's really hard to watch somebody suffer.
Yeah.
It's really hard to see your
Yeah.
loved one and you know they're struggling and they're not telling you. It's really hard to watch that. So you need to
Yeah.
get support yourself. We often say people go to therapy because of the people who won't go to therapy in their life.
Oh, wow. That's actually really, that's deep. I didn't think about that.
Right.
Like, this person won't let me help them, and I really want to help them, and it's
Right.
just caused me so much grief that I have to
Exactly.
go talk to somebody.
Right.
Wow.
I need to get support in some way.
Man.
We know that society plays a role in it. We know culture plays a role in it. We know your family values play a role in who is comfortable talking about it, sharing it, expressing that they need help.
So if us
Being willing
as
to accept
the
it.
parents of like our children of this generation, if we talk about it and normalize it,
Absolutely.
hopefully that then continues. And
Yeah.
like our kids will talk about it with their kids and just keep that going.
Right.
So the more we talk about it, the better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the more we're very clear about what we're talking about. We like to skirt around things a lot. I even have employees where I'm like, you need to ask them, have they had thoughts of suicide? And
Yeah.
they don't want to say the word suicide.
Really?
I'm like, no, you need to say the word suicide.
Your coworkers?
Yeah.
Really? I feel like
Definitely.
that's a big...
It's a very big thing. We
So
have to
people
work
who
on-
are mental health professionals who
Yeah.
are still apprehensive about using the word.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's so much stigma attached to that word.
Oh, it is such a taboo word.
Yes, so
it is
horrible.
wild.
And
I
so
mean,
people don't want to say it. So I make a point to say it all the time, everywhere I am. Like I normalize it as much as possible with anyone who listens to me because it's something that happens.
there's no point in skirting around it.
No.
It's the cold reality.
Is this a newer topic? I mean, I've been in construction for 16 years now, and I don't remember ever talking about it on the construction side until
Right.
very recently when Steve presented, and it's blowing up, which is great that we're
Right.
talking about it. More people are probably reaching out to you and others saying, I got a story too. Is that the same for in general industry? Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a fairly new conversation.
Yeah, the idea of workplace wellness has blown
Yeah.
up in the past probably decade, right? This idea that we as employers need to make sure our employees are well so they can do their job. They can
Yeah.
be productive, they can show up at work.
Yeah.
And then we know that several industries, construction, mining, physicians, right?
Well, dentists were always the
dentists,
highest
yeah.
rate
I mean,
for a
there's,
long time.
There's a lot of these.
Wait, physicians?
Oh, physicians, absolutely.
Yeah, they've increased, yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Why is that?
They're under a lot of pressure, right? You've got to get it right.
Yeah, they say the dentist thing is you go to medical school, you want to help people, that's your calling. And then for your entire career, you're making people feel better, but the whole time they're like, oh, ow, oh, oh. And all those years of just listening to people in pain while you're trying to help them gets to them eventually. Because I think before construction just went crazy, I think dentists were always the highest profession that was like a measured profession. It was always dentists who committed suicide more than everybody else.
As a society, we put so much pressure on people to excel at work and to identify their work as their entire self, their
Yeah.
purpose, their identity.
Yeah.
And if things don't go right, or if they're feeling overwhelmed by that, or they're yes-manning all the time, right, that eventually just piles up and they can't tolerate it anymore. So, yeah, there is definitely a movement to improve workplace wellness, to improve that. I think there's also with the onset of social media and the access to just information generally, right? There's a big push for a lot of people there. We're like, we want everyone to be aware. And for us in our policy and advocacy work, we want to reduce the stigma. We want awareness all over the place. Yeah. Because the more aware we are, the more likely we can prevent crisis from happening.
I've seen a huge push in social media, even talking about it.
Right.
There are people who, for better lack of a word, are becoming influencers telling their story.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, it's huge.
Yeah. That's a big thing. Absolutely, yeah.
That was a big part of me telling mine was Dr. Vince Hefeli. I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Vince. He did a TED Talk. It's 12 minutes long. Totally check it out. He's a construction guy. He's president of a company called Ajax Paving down in Florida, 450-person team. And he got on stage in 2020, I think it was 2023 or 2022, and did a TED Talk, and he told his story and how he was a really high performer and got in his car one night after dinner to go to the Forest Preserve and end it. Mm-hmm. And his wife called, and hearing his wife's voice, he just said, I just went for a drive, I'll be back. And he turned around and went back home, and now has become a voice all these years later telling people it's okay, and that their company has just made this huge push and their industry has made this huge push to fix it. And watching him tell his story was inspiring enough to me to tell mine.
Yeah.
That if it changes the outcome of one person, it's vulnerable, it's weird to say out loud, but if one person's story is different because I put myself out there, it's worth it for me.
Right. Well, that's the thing, too. I think a lot of people think if somebody is suicidal, they have suicidal thoughts, they have those feelings that they're at risk the whole time, right? So there's also this fear, if I tell somebody this, I'm automatically going to be put in the hospital.
Yeah.
Right. That's a
100%
very real.
I would bet that's very real.
It's a very real fear.
Yeah, very much.
And because we live in a society where we worry about being sued all the time.
Yeah.
And people need to be aware that just because you have that thought does not mean we're going to throw you in the hospital. You're going to be screwed for the rest of your life. Right.
Yeah, that's good to know.
There is treatment. We know that it ebbs and flows. We try to intervene in many places as possible so you don't get to that peak again.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the thing with my story is if you intervene early, before it's too late, before you get to that critical meltdown, for lack of a better word, something happens in public and the police are called. Okay, in that situation, things have escalated and your outcome could be very different. Mm-hmm. But if you realize there's an issue and you're willing to speak up and just call somebody, life goes on.
That's important for people to know. Like, if work's your issue, change your work. Business is still going to run.
Absolutely.
So I'm sure that's what some people think, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, if I leave, it's going to go under, and then, it's all my fault.
Trust me, they were existing before you were there. They will exist when you are gone.
Yeah.
Right. And if you think that means that you've been putting too much in,
mm-hmm.
that you think everyone has to rely solely on you.
Mm-hmm.
And that goes back to that.
Which is what Ozinga is so good at, is telling people, Marty Ozinga will get up in front of a group of people and say, Ozinga needs to be like the third in your life. Okay. You need family first, then faith, then work is cool. But this place is never your priority. Never. I remember the first time hearing him say that and being like, wow, that's impressive for a CEO of a company to get on a stage in front of this group of people and say, listen, guys, this place is not your priority. It's home. And if something's going on at home and you need help, come see us.
Right.
And we will help you through that. And I just remember being like, wow, that's refreshing.
Yeah.
As somebody who's been in those shoes where I needed help, to just say, it's okay.
Well, that's our mission statement, right?
Yeah.
Our purpose statement.
Yeah.
To make a positive impact on our individuals, their families, and communities for generations. And that's, and they live it.
Yeah. Every day.
Well, it's a good recognition, too, that these all things interplay also.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so if you're not doing okay with faith and family, you're not going to do good with work.
Yeah. There's so many people who don't understand how symbiotic of a relationship all of these things are. And that's kind of been my big push this year here, is telling people that, all this stuff plays into each other.
Right.
I love that you get up every morning at 5 a.m. and you go do that 5-mile run. That's awesome. But mentally, your life is in a shambles. And that all that work you're putting in physically to take care of yourself isn't doing as much as it could be because your body's all out of whack.
I love the exercise idea. How do you exercise your mental health?
It's a great question. That's a really good question. I think there's a couple of pieces I would say. One is mindfulness. That's a big trendy thing right now, is being mindful, but there's some accuracy there, right?
What does that mean?
It means being present in the moment.
Okay.
Being not so caught up in worries about tomorrow and carrying that extra load about tomorrow. It means not being so caught up in what happened yesterday And oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, all that stuff, right? Being really present. What am I working on right now? What am I needing to focus on? Who am I talking to right now? Who's right in front of me? I'm not scrolling my phone. I'm not doing work. I'm actually having a conversation with someone.
Yeah.
It's being very mindful and present. When you notice your thoughts are racing or you're feeling very anxious or overwhelmed, right? Doing things to bring you back to the present moment. We do simple grounding exercises. Your 5 senses. What are things I'm seeing right now?
Mindfulness. Just enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
You don't need to be constantly.
You can worry about something later,
Yeah.
right? And you should worry about it and when it needs to be worried about.
Yeah.
That's the other big thing, right? Or thinking about it or upset with it. So that's, I think, is one thing. I think the other thing, too, is taking breaks, right? People tend to take work home. We have way too easy access with technology, and we're working all the time.
The invention of a laptop and a cell phone.
Right.
You can
Set
work
some
anywhere.
boundaries. My husband laughs at me because I'm very good. 5 o'clock comes, we're done. I don't think back at work. I'm available if my team needs me because I have a 24/7 team. They know that. They'll reach out to me if they need me. I'll answer. But I'm not checking emails. I don't have my phone with me out reading my team's messages. I don't do any of that. It's done.
That's
Have
good.
to have the break.
Yeah.
One of our other owners, Justin, told me that kind of when I first started. It's like, take your vacation. Absolutely take all of it.
Absolutely.
And then when you do it, turn your phone off and just see what happens.
Yep.
Because part of any manager thinks like, well, like we were talking about earlier, if I can't answer my phone or an email, the company is going to go down.
Right.
Like, well, it's not true.
No.
So turn off everything and take the time off.
Right.
Really take the time off. But I like your idea of even every day. I know there's people in this company that will work all day, they'll go home, and they'll work until 9 o'clock at night.
Right. And if you're a manager or your supervisor, role model it, one, but then also expect it of your team members. I tell my 2 senior managers all the time, when did you stop working last night? I'm on them constantly because I want them to set some good boundaries and be healthy about it, right? And I also trust them. So I knew when I took vacation 2 weeks ago and I was out, everything was off, and I was like, you can text me if you need me, but I know you won't. And they didn't, not once, right? I trusted
Empower
them
them.
to do the work they needed to get done and reach out to other people who are around if that's what they needed.
It's awesome.
So those are important things. I think the other thing too is making sure you're cultivating relationships. It is really easy just do a quick text to somebody, but you haven't talked to them in like 6 weeks, right? Those kinds of things. Really cultivating those relationships, making efforts. You don't have to, like I said, go out and socialize every single night, but making sure you're cultivating relationships. You want people to know you.
Yeah.
So they can call you out if they need to.
Yeah, no, we've been kind of focusing on that here for our leadership, is telling them, get to know your people.
Yeah.
It's really hard to spot that Bill's in trouble if you don't know Bill.
Right.
And this guy's worked for you for 10 years.
Right.
And you don't know much about him. So if he's struggling or in trouble, you're going to have a really hard time identifying that.
Right.
So that's kind of the foundation of our mental health toolkit that we put together and put out, is get to know your people first.
Yep.
Build a relationship.
We've talked about the different levels of relating, right? The first one's like, what do they call it? Very transactional. Like, hi, Teri, how are you? And I know that's Teri, and I know I see her every now and then. And then there's the next level of, okay, I learned about their kids. They have kids, or they like to do this as a hobby. They love to golf. And then it goes way further down the road of, how do I know if this guy's off? If I know he's not normally like that, because I have that relationship with him now built up, that I know something ain't right.
Right. And I think that's that part about being mindful too, being present in the moment, right?
Yeah.
Even in your team meeting, like just kind of paying attention to all your team members. Who's paying attention, who's not, who seems distracted, who seems off today. All of those things are just, you keep a mental catalog. It's really important.
There's probably people listening to this that either own a company or work for a company, and they're like, how do I even get started in this?
Yeah.
So you mentioned earlier the 988 numbers connected to you. Steve, show them what
So actually what we did after the summit, we put together some resources right out of the gate to help. First thing is we developed a manager's mental health toolkit.
Good.
Has kind of just some basic signs and symptoms, things you can look for in your people, and then it has resources. We also did 988 signage for all of our facilities for the parking lot. So there's a sign in the parking lot that says, Hope has a new number, 988, somebody's here for you all the time.
Yes.
Just on the off chance that maybe it was the first employee in the morning and they were in a time of crisis to know where to turn, or the last person locking up the gate at night and there just wasn't a coworker left to talk to. And then we started developing a list of volunteers for what we're calling the mental health support team. So these are volunteers who are going to go through mental health first aid training.
Beautiful.
And just be a resource. Somebody who's here.
Yeah, we're not trained to be a doctor.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, we don't need
mental health first aid is
LCSWs.
fantastic.
It's like, so I took actual mental health first aid, very clinical. It was a little more, I think, in depth than what I was expecting.
Okay.
I was the only non-clinician in the class.
Interesting. It's intended for non-clinicians.
Yeah, because like
Absolutely.
everybody was either a therapist, paramedics, people who were in kind of first responder type of environments. So we're actually having our own designed by somebody who does that for a bunch of organizations here in the Chicagoland area. And then we identify those members using a special hard hat sticker.
Nice.
So this goes on your hard hat if you're on the team, and it just says, hey, I'm here for you. And I'm somebody you can talk to. Because you don't think about, and we kind of talked earlier, there might be people who don't have anybody in their lives.
Absolutely.
Don't have a single sibling, a parent left, don't have friends, and don't know where to turn to. They just don't have anybody in their life. And when they're in that time of desperate need, and we tell people, tell somebody you're not okay, but you don't have somebody.
Right.
Here, you see this hard hat sticker or you see the sticker outside their person's office door, you just know, like, you know what? Adam's got that sticker on his door and I'm in trouble. I'm going to go see if Adam can help me. We'll help you as a family here at Ozinga get through it if you don't have somebody else to talk to.
Right.
And I think that's where it comes from, is like employers saying, it's time. We're going to do something about it.
I mean, and it all happened pretty organically, pretty quickly. From the first time he did the presentation to like the next day, we were like, we got to do something about this. To putting out a volunteer like form and getting 75 volunteers in the first
first 3
couple
days. Yeah, it's up to 100 people now.
That's great.
And I mean, we even have a driver who works in our Indiana East region out by South Bend, whose wife is a psychiatric RN, and she wants to volunteer on the team.
Yeah.
She's like, "This is
Just be
awesome,
a resource,
you guys. Yeah,
you know?
just be somebody here."
And I think that's a really interesting part that I hope everybody understands is this no stigmas or I don't want to talk to anybody idea. In 3 days, we got over 100 people that said, come talk to me.
Yeah.
Come knock on my door. And like I said, I'm not going to be a doctor, but I'll get you in touch with the certain resources, the NAMIs of the world, the 988s. We have resources out there, and we want you to take advantage of them.
Right. No,
And
absolutely.
it's huge now.
Yeah, we're not doing this stuff because
Cool.
it doesn't work and it won't provide any benefit. We're doing this because it provides benefit and it works, and we want you to be okay. You know, we want you to, at the end of the day, wake up again tomorrow and live the purpose that we as a company and as the employees all feel is so important and so key to what we do here. We have on the TVs this month circling around that September is Suicide Prevention Month. Just putting the word suicide on the wall just destigmatizes it every time somebody walks by, whether they realize it or not, just normalizes the word. And so, I mean, even as an employer, doing something as little as that can start to make a difference.
Absolutely. What you're saying is we value you knowing about this stuff. We recognize it exists. We're not hiding our head in the sand.
Yeah.
We're willing and open to talk about these things.
Yeah.
Well, Teri, I love everything that you do and that NAMI does. How can we help? Is there a place we can go, a place we can guys can visit?
Absolutely. Well, first you have the 988 that you have everywhere. That's fantastic. That's 24/7. Somebody's going to get a hold of somebody somewhere, and it's very fast. Within 30 seconds, they're going to talk to somebody, which is really great. I think that's a really important thing. Also, people can call, in other languages. That's totally fine. People can call anonymously. We have specialty lines for veterans. We have specialty lines for substance use. So, people have some options when they call those.
Oh, cool.
I think that makes it feel more inviting and welcoming. And then, of course, you can call NAMI. Specifically, our helpline is available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Saturdays and Sundays, 9 to 5. And that is 833-626-4244. And you can call, text, or chat anytime. You can go to our website, which is namichicago.org/helpline. Our little chat box will come up there, and you can start a chat with any of our staff members.
Oh, cool.
Another cool thing I noticed on your website when I was there is you have peer groups too.
Yeah.
That seems like that's actually kind of a big part of your guys' solution, right?
Absolutely.
Are these peer support networks?
Peer support network. That is huge. We really recognize the value of somebody's lived experience really helping to support somebody else.
Well, so somebody can just go to that and sit and listen and tell their story. I mean,
absolutely.
That's kind of like two birds with one stone then.
It can be.
You're getting the connection piece with other people and you're getting the knowledge.
Yes, absolutely. One of the great things that we're doing, so we have several, if you go on our website, you can see all the different support groups. We have some are online, some are in person. But we just got a very large grant from Cook County Health that allows us to expand that. So we're having a big expansion the next year of offering more at various different community level organizations so that there's just more access to peer support because it is a really, really important space.
Well, again, thank you both for coming. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you so
and
much.
thank you for everything you do, Teri. This is cool.
Yeah, thanks for coming. We really appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you.
Be sure to subscribe to Chasing Zero wherever you get podcasts, and find full video of this conversation by searching Chasing Zero on YouTube. For company updates and social media, visit us at ozinga.com.